I would do with the Pledge of Allegiance and the 4-way test. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First. Second. Third. And fourth. Thank you. Well, why don't we start by doing maybe an introduction, a quick introduction of a guest, and then I'll introduce our speaker before she begins her presentation.
So I invited a guest because you intimidated me so much. Her name is Erin, and actually she's very connected in Spearfish. She works at the library, so you'll see her friendly face there, and her husband is a cop on the Spearfish Police Department. So she's kind of my guest and your guest today. Oh.
I could see.
Anyway, she's a top-notch realtor in Spearfish.
All right, welcome. Anybody else? No, we all know each other, right? Okay.
Nicole's kind of a guest, but almost a member. Yeah.
That's right. So couple things I'll announce, and then if anybody else has something they want to add to this, feel free. So we have our 9/11 I don't know what it is called, picnic, first responders, picnic, food bringing thing. And so Tony has ordered food from Common Grounds, and so it needs to be picked up and delivered to the police department, the fire department, and the ambulance. So you just pick it up and drop it off.
Take a picture.
Take a picture. Sunday on 9/11 at noon. But we need a volunteer to do that. A lot of us are out of town, including Dana and I, and Tom, Kelly. I think Tony's out of town.
And Tony just started
working. So we need one volunteer to do that. We have two volunteers, three volunteers.
Co-volunteer.
It would be great to have a couple
Yeah.
people go together and do this.
Yeah.
Well, great. So if you could coordinate that,
Do you know what time?
I think.
I believe it's noonish, but want to get in touch with Jessica after. Okay. I think she's working at Common Grounds. Oh, okay.
And I'll let Jessica know if we are doing it. We'll get
So
together.
police department, all Spearfish or?
Police department, Spearfish Police Department, Spearfish Fire Department, and the
And
ambulance services, and they're all close together.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully the food will be all organized, but.
Yeah, so you
Jessica-
just walk it through. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jessica
they'll have
has
it
all-
go from they were traveling, so, and we have a count of how many is that, they're working that out.
Yeah, Jessica's got that all figured out.
And for those of you who are newer to the club, before COVID, we used to do a big burgers and brats and hot dogs barbecue in the park. And we used that big outdoor shelter. And then once COVID hit, we didn't do that. And up through last year, we still couldn't, the services weren't going out and doing the big gatherings because they've been closed to keep everybody else safe as well. So we figured this for now, we'll leave it as a lunch delivery and hopefully sometime in the future, we can return to our barbecue and park. It's absolutely fun.
Great, well, thanks again. Let's see, upcoming meetings. We have on September 14th next week, Mayor John Senden is going to speak to us, Mayor of Spearfish. And that will be a board meeting day. So if you're on the board, we'll meet at 11 if you can. And of course, we'll send emails and texts out to remind people of that. On 9/21, Colonel Stacy Goodman will be here. And then on 9/28, our Rotary District Governor, John Schneider. So that's what's coming up on the schedule. Let's see, we have a setup and a takedown. The setup is here at the Holiday Inn at 9 a.m. on September 12th. Monday, thank you. And the takedown is 9/15, which is a Thursday at 3 p.m. We've got people signed up for it, so I think we've got enough people to handle that, but
6 for setup and 7 for takedown, so,
So that's great.
Yeah. and it's
But-
only like 20, but
20
it's
booths.
still, and then the only thing is like,
$100.
can you drive the trailer?
I can drive on for the takedown.
So setup, I don't know who has a vehicle, maybe Jerome could have a vehicle to pull the trailer over, so I need to specify that.
Okay,
Well, I'll ask Jerome if you can. Otherwise, Tony's there, and you're.
I'll be there for the setup.
But I'll see if Tony or Jerome.
Okay. So that's great. So we got a lot of people for those, but feel free to join if, even if you're not signed up, it'll be.
We'll
a
have
quick-
another opportunity in October, there's one, so I haven't put that out on the calendar yet, but I'll be adding that, I didn't want it to like get confused,
Get confused, yeah.
so I'll add that one out. But
Great.
same, it's here for a conference, probably more like 30-35.
35 booths. Okay, great. Good. Making money. What we want to do. Let me do one more and then I'll go to you. So we have a check here to the Artemis House for $1,000. We approved that kind of, I think, in our last board meeting. And so this is going to go to Jessica and to the Artemis House, and we'll get a photo with big giant check at some point and see if we can get that in the paper. But just so you know that that is going out. That's it for me. So Kelly. what do you-
First one, Beautify Spearfish. I want to thank everybody who showed up to help with the canyon cleanup. We started cleaning the canyon in 2018, about a 5-mile stretch. The first year that we did it, we cleaned up 15 bags of trash and a grill. And this year we're down to 6 bags of trash. So there is impact happening. So that's pretty awesome. There was something else that I was gonna mention. Now I don't. I don't know.
Always interrupt whenever you need to.
Huh. I don't know.
That's all right. Anything else? Yes.
I might. I will be back and I'll be back with John comes on the 28th.
For those of you who are new to the club, this is Jean Fine. She is our area district governor.
I have a couple of things. One is to encourage those of you who have taken out thought of it, to come to Sioux City, Iowa on the 22nd and 23rd. Actually, the meeting is the 23rd in the morning of the 24th. In Iowa for the district meeting. It's a terrific way to interact with other Rotarians, and it gives you far more sense of how it works and what other things are going on. I need to also remind you, if you have a chance, on the 29th of September, the new club reps, I think, having their 100 celebration. They were the last year, but and finally, my best that I want to. I get the privilege of just a governor to pick a Rotarian of distinction each year. The five clubs that I supervise and watch. This year was happy to be at the top.
It's you guys that made it work so well, actually. It wasn't me.
We made you look good.
Yeah. That's one thing for good leaders.
It's recognition in Sioux City, so get those to come on down and but yeah, you've done an outstanding job and you've got to go.
That's great. Kelly remembers.
I remember. Windows, they actually should have been in on the 1st, but we won't look to get them installed until sometime in October. So because she's and her fiance are getting married, they'll be out of town the 16th to the 24th. And so probably sometime in October, I'm just waiting on Todd to get back to me to let me know and these guys will be there, and then I'll send something out and we'll just need maybe 6 or so people to be at the house and kind of be go for runners for them. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
Good. Good news. That's good. Let's do the drawing.
All right. The drawing today is for $49. So, even for the movie price, they.
Hey.
Thank you for a generous donation.
Last four, oh, 2, 4.
024?
Or last
Yep.
302.
Yeah. First one in, first one out.
It's somebody's birthday coming up, and I hope he gets.
Yeah. How much is in there?
Not as old as you are.
$49.
49. Yeah, just a dollar short.
46 beats.
Okay. Yep. All right. All right, right there. Someone jumped right into my head. Nope.
No, okay.
Oh.
So I-
One more. Go ahead. Okay. 030.
Ooh.
All right.
Good bucks.
$8.
Yeah.
That's real money.
Happy?
Okay, so we'll do happy dollars. So if you're happy about something, put a dollar in and just shout out why you're happy. So I don't know, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be turning 50 next week.
Going back and forth on if I should say this and jinx it, so I'm gonna knock on the table, but I'm happy that hopefully this is gonna be the last miserable hot day of the summer. Doom and gloom.
And I'm gonna throw in a happy $5. I have 2 alumni comments. I'm happy because I'm an alumni of the Homestake Opera House Board of Directors. That's our program today. And as most of you know, I'm a Nebraska alum and we're now a volleyball school, as you know. And our volleyball team is ranked 2nd in the nation. And we also won. Happy to be here.
Well, I don't want to brag, well, I guess I do. I'm happy because my grandson, Hugh, was elected president of the freshman class.
Really?
Happy to be officially a board member of Public. So excited, yeah. Happy to spend some nice weekends in the Big Horns camping with my husband and son, and we celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary on Monday. So as well, so when we camped at the same campground, we camped at on our honeymoon, so I guess I don't really like the guy. It was a little, yeah, but much busier. Okay.
Give a girl $1 and she steals your happy.
I know.
I'm double happy that Nicole is our newest board member for Open Stealing Heart and soon to be a Rotarian.
Yes, that too, very.
I know, we still have to vote.
I'm fine. If you have me.
Yeah, I wish they had more. Oh, I got the bill full. But tomorrow's our 49th wedding.
I'm happy that last Wednesday, I was driving home from Laramie with this guy in my horse trailer. And he is a 13-year-old Morgan, and he's even better than I hoped.
I have 40 happy dollars.
Oh.
On Sunday, we celebrated 40 years. We celebrated early actually in the tea house, which was great because we were there with all of our kids. But the official day was Saturday.
I'm just happy because I'm helping. So I've been gone a lot. We've had some real tragedy in our family. So we were gone for some of that. Added another bad thing this week, but we also, in the middle of all that, were able to plan the vacations over the next year that I'm pretty excited about. So I'm happy about that. I'm also gonna throw in another $1 for Tom because he wanted to put in more, and I just wanted to take pot. And also, I think Greg needs to talk a little bit about his recent vacation, and actually maybe we can do a program.
He is going to do perfect.
Oh, okay, good.
He's got to do 2 now.
Yeah. You're on the schedule for October.
And I'm happy to have Kathy. Oh, and we're going to England.
in September.
Oh.
My husband's on an agenda at a conference over there, so. She's dragging me along. So I'm trying to get around, so.
So the conference is in Chester?
Chester.
Good. So I can't, yeah, he's been there before, but I haven't. We're gonna go to Liverpool's really close, see some Beatles stuff, and we're gonna fly into London, so London and everything on the way there, so we'll bring it out there. So I'm pretty excited about that. We got the 20th through the 3rd, I think. So, yeah.
Okay. Good, so, let's go throw this. Okay, so if there's not anything else, I will introduce our speaker for today. Ready to go? Okay, so our speaker today is Christine Allen. She's the development director of the Opera House. Christine has been living in Lead with her husband, Nate, a diehard Lead native for the last 5 years. Her background is in social services throughout the Rapid City area and the Northern Hills. Her love affair with the Opera House began when Nate took her to a performance on one of their first dates and later used the Opera House to help lure her to move to Lead. After volunteering for many years at the HOH, she jumped at the chance to officially work for the Opera House as the development director. Christine loves being able to help secure the future of the opera. So Christine, take it away.
All right. So we're gonna do this old school because you know I'm gonna get right where you are. Because my presentation isn't exactly working. But luckily I brought some material. And I want to start off thanking all of you. I grew up with a family that's very civically minded, and I know without groups like this, adult volunteers, our small communities, just wouldn't be what they are. The programs wouldn't happen, and also as a former social worker, what you do for places like Artemis House, all the different organizations you do, that does not go unnoticed from the lowest to the highest level. So thank you very much. So I'm going to start off today. I might be a little bit discombobulated without my computer, but talking about the Homestake Opera House in Lead and its history and kind of where we are. Who in this room has been to the Homestake Opera House? Okay, most of you, some of you. Okay, so we got some history with it. So depending on when you were there, things are very, very different. And that's because in 1914 is when the Opera House was built. Many people don't know this, but when when North Dakota and South Dakota became states of the Union, which was at the same time actually, Lead was the biggest city. So we are talking drastically different times than the Lead you see today, okay? Lead actually had electricity before the city of Boston did, because we were very important to the U.S. economy. This area had the most productive, longest running gold mine for over 100 years in the entire Western Hemisphere of the world. And Spearfish's very critical role in that, I'm saying Spearfish, even though it's the whole Black Hills Rotary, was to grow the food for the mine. All those workers, we don't grow a lot of food in Lead. This is attested by my terrible gardening skills. So we needed you guys to grow food where you get the sun and to feed all the miners. So Phoebe Hurst, who was the owner of the mine at the time, kind of looked at it and thought, what are you people doing for fun? What are you doing for arts and culture? She lived in California and she saw a gap. And so she wanted to create the funds and create the Homestake Opera House. So she built this magnificent building up in the hills that was referred to as the Jewel of the Black Hills, because everybody would come there for culture and for recreation. So a little bit more time in the past, because some of you know, the Opera House originally had a bowling alley. It originally had a swimming pool, billiards room, smoking room, library. It was really the community center of Lead. Everything was free to the miners' families, except for the movies, and those cost a nickel. And then, of course, it had our magnificent auditorium. This is not what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like when it's all done, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but very magnificent auditorium. Now, today, we have our auditorium that we use, our theater, and then we also have our bowling alley is now the gun range. So I haven't done my research, but I can say we're probably the only opera house in the nation that also has a gun range. So if you see a lot of cops there, you hear gunfire, that's the point of it. So instead of bowling, you just, shoot instead. And then, our front of the space is, rented to the Lee Deadwood Arts Council, which is the Lee Deadwood's visual arts component. So to give you an idea of those of you who are more familiar with the Spearfish area, the Matthews Opera House runs their visual arts and performance arts. In Lee and Deadwood, they're separate. They're in the same building, but they're separate organizations. So here we are, going along for a long time. We're in really good shape. Everything's going great. In about the late 80s-ish or late 70s, the Opera House was given to the city by the mining company, and everybody's excited. But it's kind of like when HGTV gives you a house that you can't afford your taxes on. We couldn't afford to keep it up the way we wanted to, so the fire suppression system was in disrepair. And in 1984, we had a fire that pretty much destroyed most of the building. It sat empty for about 15 years, and then a historical nonprofit called Friends of the Homestake Opera House Society was built and organized in order to restore this opera house. So the crazy thing is we're only going on about 15 years since we've been reopened, and we are able to do about 25 different events, performances, community things with what we have. Around Northern Hills, we work with what we have. For example, the very first show on this theater when it opened back up for community theater was Fiddler on the Roof, and the windows were still shattered from the fire, and it snowed during Fiddler on the performers. So it's very apt for Fiddler, not so great for maybe Lion King, but it worked. We made it work. And that's kind of what we've been doing is making it work with former board members like Jen here, working very hard. About $4 million has been invested in the building so far to bring it to where it is today. We are going to talk about where we're going in our future, but before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about what we do in our community now, existing as we exist. So as I said, we have a lot of different performances, just like the Matthews. We bring in comedians, we bring in musicians, plays, professional things. We have prom at the Opera House. We have lots of different community meetings because it's about the biggest space in Lee to have a big function. Actually, is pretty much the only space in Lee to have a big function at. And we also have a strong community theater background that's been going on for many decades. And then we have a children's theater as well. We offer education and outreach classes, and I'm very proud to announce it's kind of my baby, but we work with Lawrence County Teen Court on teaching them. It's basically performance skills, but they're actually learning behavioral therapy skills and communication and emotion regulation as we teach them how to act. And we're hoping to expand that program into more schools, more people who generally don't always get the chance to be exposed to arts. Because our mission is that we want to bring arts to everybody, whether you can afford it or not. We want everybody in our building being able to experience the same opportunities and learning how it helps you. So we're very active. A lot of people think we're there, but we are, and we have been chugging along. And today I'm here to update you. After all that history, sorry, 100 years is a lot to go over. Today I'm here to update you a little bit on what our future is, because we haven't done any work in the Opera House for about 3 or 4 years. So depending on when you were there, I don't have my slides, it might have looked more like, well, let's hope nobody was there when it looked like that before. On page 4, that was right after the fire. It might have looked a little bit more like page 7. Some things are redone. Some things are not. You see some walls that were restored, and then you see glimpses like our angels on top of our Pernicium, which are still very much look as if they have been burnt. So depending on what you were there, you're picturing a very different opera houses. Right before the pandemic, in 2019, we started a capital campaign in order to raise funds to finish the restoration. So in the past, we've done a lot of projects that have beautified the building, things that need to be done. But we are working now with Amber and TSP And we have a total plan for restoration of the building, which includes not some fun stuff and some fun stuff. For example, right now, our very next project that we'll be doing, we're closed December to April, is for fire suppression. We are lucky. My husband was fire chief. We are lucky that we've only had one fire and haven't had a fire suppression system since. So we really got to get this done for the good of our patrons and our community, so we don't lose this historical jewel. So that's number one. Let's not repeat this, okay? Let's have a fire suppression system that works. And then we go into, and if you're on page, let's just go to page 6. There's a lot of components that go into updating the Opera House. We need to update the electrical. We need an elevator that allows access to our stage. Interestingly enough, as I've been planning for grants, I found out the Matthews House, Opera House, doesn't have wheelchair accessibility to their stage either. So there's no historical Opera House in the Black Hills area overall that anybody can have access to. And that's a problem. You know, that's something that needs to be fixed. Whether you have mobility issues for any reason, we need to have access to everything. So that's a big thing. We also need to update our sound system, our light system, things of that nature. And then we need to go in and fix all our pretty little details and get them back to 1914's restoration. So we have a lot of work to do, but there's also very good news. The reason that I'm coming to talk to you is because we get a lot of questions about what's going on. How come nothing's been done in 3 or 4 years? Well, first of all, we know what happened, COVID, right? That's just the way it goes. But also because we were fundraising in a quiet phase, which means that when we went public in May, of the total 8 million we need to finish this building, we have raised 3.2 million in the quiet phase alone. So we have 40% for one. Thank you. And that's very much due to hard work from our board. As many of you may know, we had a much beloved executive director, Sarah Carlson, for years. She's now working with the Art Council, so instead of applying for grants, she gets to give money away. So with her leaving in COVID, it's really been a transition time at the Opera House, and people are wondering what's going on. You know, what are we doing? So as I said, we'll start this winter with our fire suppression system. We'll then go into updated HVAC. I gotta say, I'm kind of with Kevin. We just moved our offices upstairs. It's 100 degrees and we have no air conditioning up there. So we are excited for air conditioning as well. And we really just want everybody to come and see what it's like and re-engage as we get back to COVID and be in our own homes, in our shows, in our community theater, and spread the message. I hope that, you know, all of you who are here are very good at touting the Black Hills. It's honestly not hard. Coming from Iowa where there was nothing to do, we have the easiest job in the world to brag about where we live and what's going on. So we want you to become our advocates and invite people to the Opera House and share what's going on and really just be kind of a part of what we are doing. Yes.
Are you still doing tours, the Opera House?
Yes, we do still do tours at the Opera House. During December to April, we aren't going to be able to do near the tours as normal because of the construction, so we just won't be allowed to go to the theater, but we do still do tours. And because of the interpretive center moving around, which I'll talk about in a minute, because I realized I forgot that, most of the tours now do include going to see the pool. So if you haven't been to see the pool, it still exists. There's no water in it. It still exists. You can come and see that, and I suggest you do it before December or bring your friends before December because then it's going to be closed off. And I honestly am not sure what that area will exactly look like once the building's all a mess. A mess. Kevin says it's going to be a mess. So I mean, you guys are going to clean it, right? It does. It does. And that is what, you know, part of what you're going to expect in the next couple of years is it's got to look worse before it looks better, right? We're going to have times that we're shut down. You'll see fundraising programming in that, but we're not going to be able to use the theater. Then there's going to be times where it opens back up and then it shuts back down. But ideally, knock on wood, I know this sounds crazy, but with all the construction and things, by 2030, we can have this project done. And that's really cool to consider that it really started in the early 2000s just it was in shambles, absolutely in shambles. And through the work of volunteers like yourself, they brought it back to where it is. So very, very cool to think about. I skipped this, so I'm gonna go back. If you guys like homestake history, we have an interpretive center that's free to the public. It's at the top of the Opera House and it tells the story. Lots of work has been put into that in order to preserve that part of our history because it's very important to the entire area. So, went a little bit fast. I'm trying to remember what's on my PowerPoint that I didn't include. Any questions while you guys are eating? And then maybe I'll bring up blueprints. Yes.
You're saying projection, you have it set at the moment of like, when you're gonna finish like, HVAC, plumbing, projection as to how you reach this and when you hope to finish the level.
Yes, so phase one, and it's not in here as much, I bet Kevin can actually tell you more than me, but phase one is really the electrical, the HVAC, and the fire suppression. And the elevator includes a whole new elevator shaft. So we had to get the land from the city, you know, all the things that you have to do, add that on. So that's really all phase one. And then phase two goes into lighting and sound more, I believe. Phase three incorporates that as well. So more of the theatrical components that you need for a modern day performance venue. And then phase four is plaster work, restoration, the pretty stuff. As far as a deadline of when the work will happen, well, we got to keep raising the rest of 60% of the money. And it also just depends on who we can find for contractors. As we all know, it's difficult right now to find people who want to take on a job, and it's not an easy job restoring a building that's over 100 years old. So, yes.
How much of the character is gonna stay the same? Like a lot of statues?
Pretty much everything. Yep, everything will stay the same. So the Opera House was redone in the 50s and it was given a real 50s looking vibe. But when they decided to do the restoration, they decided to redo it all the way back to 1914. And all of that is still there. Once you peel off a layer of 50s green, you see this beautiful gold and red color that's really underneath of it. And so right now, what's been done is the interpreter center's done, the lobby's done, parts of the theater are done, the walls are done, most of the sconces are restored. A lot of the pretty stuff. Now, like I said, we're getting into the nitty gritty, but it's really the necessary stuff. We can't do any more pretty or we'll ruin it when we go back and do the nitty gritty. So that's the board's wisdom before I even joined as an employee of we need to do this logically so it makes sense and so we get it all done in the way that brings honor to the building.
Are shows slowing down then, or do you have stuff this month and next month?
So we actually just started our new season. So we generally are closed about in July and August, partially because we don't have air conditioning. And so people don't love to gather together when we talk. So our season actually starts on Saturday and I do invite you guys. So Saturday morning, we kick off with the Northern Hills Master Gardeners Club is doing a classes, 3 hours of classes, I think, 4, it's from 9 to 11. Because there's a tomato tasting afterwards. So those of you who love tomatoes, I think there's 13 or 18 varieties of tomatoes that you get to try as well as learn how to garden in the Northern Hills. So that's an example of the community events we do. And then that night we have Scared Scriptless. They are a improv comedy group out of Seraphim Theater in Rapid City. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Seraphim Theater. They took over an old church. They're great. So their improv sketch comedy group is coming and performing on Saturday night. And then I don't know if this has been sent out yet, but our community show, it has been. We are to thank you guys of all your service you do in the community. All the Rotary members are receiving 2 free tickets digitally to come to our community theater show this fall, which is called To Jillian on her 37th birthday. So we start rolling in September. And then you'll see us nonstop in October, November, shut down a little bit in December, back up again in April. And until we have air conditioning, it's almost opposite the rest of Black Hills. We're quiet in the summer. And then we're busy in the fall, winter, and spring. So we have a full calendar that you can find out. Yeah.
This isn't the first time I've heard of a community that was gifted a building and then they could not support. We lived in a town in Illinois that had a $1 million courthouse they built trying to become the capital of Illinois and they lost.
Yes.
And so that building is a big white elephant and a drain on the community. What are the plans in place to prevent that from happening to the Opera House again?
You mean to prevent a fire from happening
No,
again?
like, you said before the fire, yeah, before the fire, the city of Lee couldn't afford to go into that.
Yes. So of course, the city of Lee no longer owns the building. That's, the Homestake Opera House Friends, Homestake Opera House Society, they bought the building. So the idea is that it's really important to be as fiscally responsible as possible, I believe. So that means that we fully utilize our space, whether that's renting it, using it for more performances, having bigger shows. All of those are possible when we are restored. Right now, there's a bit of a limit to say, I'm just gonna give an example of who's just in Deadwood, Gary Allen. Gary Allen doesn't want us because you have to load your stuff up and down the stairs to get on the stage. He's not a fan of that, okay? So, we will make money from our performances as we do now, but the ability is just much, much greater to do that. As well as we rent venues, we do wedding rentals, and of course, we are supported by different grants throughout the arts community and things like that. But we are really proud to say, there's a lot going on in Lead. I don't know if you know, I'm very connected. If you have any questions, that sounded weird. I'm not very connected. I'm involved. If you have any questions, let me know. But there's a lot of people you might know. There's actually a lot going on in Lead, a lot of growth coming out of that terrible economic depression when the mine closed. But we are really proud to say that we have stood on our feet for over 100 years, and we're going to be able to continue to stand on our feet. Just the fact that $4 million was put in the building, plus they can do shows and community events, says a lot, because we're not just fundraising for that, we're also, fundraising from this devastating fire. So, yeah.
Dana, one thing I might add, as the finance chairman for a lot of years, when it really was one big sale at a time. And that whole financial foundation has improved a lot with the work of the staff, a lot of good long-term grants and everything. But to their credit, the city council provides an annual subsidy for the operations, and it last few years has run anywhere from 40 to 65,000 a year. Because of the lab, sales tax revenues for the city of Lee just continue to go up and up. So, I think the city council will be able to continue to subsidize. That helps too.
Thanks, Jim. Other questions?
Cricket show next year.
Okay, so Cowboy Christmas, big topic, right? The Opera House does not own Cowboy Christmas. Cowboy Christmas is owned by the performers. They have not performed since COVID. It is up to them to decide when and where they feel more comfortable coming back. As someone who loves Cowboy Christmas, I hope it's soon, but a lot of that population who's in the show, we remember, are more vulnerable to COVID themselves. So at this time, next year, we are happy to say, let me tell you a little bit about our Christmas shows. So first of all, we're moving our Festival of Trees way up because we were the first one to do it. And last year we did it way late and people in Lead had trees from Spearfish and Sturgis and we were not happy, right? So our Festival of Trees is the weekend before Thanksgiving this year. So you can come bid on your trees, get your silent auction item, have it for Christmas or have it for Thanksgiving. And then December 8th, we have a Celtic Christmas show coming. Did anybody see the show in March? It is the same group of Irish dancers, singers, and storytellers who came for St. Patrick's Day. They were so well received. We had such a great turnout, and people just said, bring them back, bring them back, bring them back. So we immediately got in their schedule that day and said, can we bring you back for Christmas? So it's a Celtic Christmas show with storytelling, dancing, and I believe there'll be a meet and greet afterwards at a local pub in Lead, and you'll hear more about that. That's on Thursday, December 8th, I believe. And then we'll be closed. So the big annual Christmas show, who knows? Who knows when Cowboy Christmas will come back, hopefully soon. But we will continue to do a big show every year.
Do you have like Facebook? I assume that you.
Yeah. Yep, so we post everything on Facebook, and in fact, I'm just gonna say, right now, I'm gonna give a plug. Auditions for 2 Jillian, which you guys are receiving free tickets for. If you wanna see your fellow Rotarians on stage, last night auditions were a little scant. So we still need some people for this next show. I also wanna talk about this real quick, because that's due the entire Northern Hills. Very exciting, I don't know if you guys have heard this. In October, the Matthews, the Opera House in Lead, and the Black Hills Community Theater are all doing a 1-act. On Friday, you'll see everybody's 1-act in Lead. On Saturday, you'll see everybody's 1-act in Spearfish. And on Sunday, you'll see everybody's 1-act in Bell. So it's a collaborative program with all of our local community theaters. So want to plug that because we all need to work together in the Northern Hills. That I think is October, I think it's the second weekend of October that is. Yep, and like I said, it'll be here in Spearfish, at the Matthews on Saturday. And everybody's really excited because a lot of these actors have never been to get on 3 different stages in one time. So we hope to do more collaborative projects as we come out of COVID in the future too. So, other questions? Your question?
Friends of Historic Homestake Opera House. Are they a nonprofit?
Yes, so this is a nonprofit. Now, the Friends of the Homestake Opera House Society as an original group is really just referred to now as the Opera House, as the Homestake Opera House. You can support us in many ways, which I obviously going to talk about. You can become a member. Membership comes with different perks for the community, like these free tickets I'm able to give out to different places. Free snacks, drinks. If you really donate a lot, you get to be a VIP for a night. We've had no one take us up on it, so I don't really know what it means. I think I ban you during the performance. I haven't really decided yet, but you get some VIP treatments during a show of your choice. You get discounts and different things like that. You can come in, you can take a tour, you can donate online to operations or to our capital campaign fund. We do have, of course, 2 fundraising branches. We have operations like most theaters do. And we have restoration, which most theaters have some, but we have a lot going on.
What's the minimum amount for annual membership?
Annual membership minimum amount is $100. That's less than a Netflix subscription. So literally, you are basically paying for live. Your community. You're contributing to your community to have live performance, which is so important for less than what you pay for a typical streaming service. And I would highly encourage membership. As we know, membership is kind of hard. It's declining a little bit throughout the year. So if you'd like to become a member, I would be welcome.
We do that online.
You can do that online. Yep. You can call me at the office. You can do anything like that. Yeah.
Somebody becomes a member, you said they get free tickets.
So it just depends on, excuse me, the way I said that was confusing. Every member donates 2 free tickets. And then I get to decide as the development director where those tickets go. Last year, most of them, so that's almost 400 tickets. Last year, most of them went to kids, to the schools and to Boys and Girls Club. This year, given the thematic programming that we have this year, most of them are going to adult service groups like yourself. And that's because Phoebe Hurst, you guys don't know a lot about her, she really believed in education and arts for everybody. She built the kindergarten in Lead that ran for 60 years before the state took it over. You know, it really was her mission. She inherited the mining company when she was 48 years old, 30 years before women could even vote. And she ran it with a very forward-thinking outlook. So in her honor, we do those free tickets that go to the community.
Does she own the homestake mine, all the shares?
She did, but no longer. So when Homestake closed in the late or early 2000s, Barrick Gold bought the homestake mining company, not for the mine and leaf so much, though that was their flagship mine. They bought it because of the mines all over the world. Homestake was never going to be a functional mine again. The lowest level they were at was 8,000 feet. It's 135 degrees down there and 100% humidity naturally. The coolest they could get it in 2003 was 105 degrees. So you're literally working in what's basically a tropical rainforest underground. And it's not especially rich payload dirt. And so that was closed. Baird bought it, they run the other mines, and then they donated. That's a whole story, but the lab has the mine from the state of South Dakota, and now it's used for science research. Yes. Other questions? Okay, so I'm gonna go into real quick, just a little bit. Do I have a little bit more time? Sure. I'll just go into real quick. If you guys want to take a look at these, you can. The opera house is changing. We're never gonna have the pool back. Okay. They're too expensive. We got a splash pad and it's only sunny like 3 months anyway. All right, but we will have a lot of different things. We're gonna have a different, we're gonna have more costume rooms, more small areas where you can practice. You can come in and we can offer piano lessons and things of that nature. We'll have, of course, our theater will expand a little bit. The seats are gonna move up. That's kind of more easily seen here. So it will be a different structure than maybe what some of you remember. If you want to come look at these, you can. They're also available at the opera house to view at any time. But it's quite a bit of restoration that's done. Of course, everybody cares about the theater, getting the pretty part back, but we got to have our space usable so that we can offer it to the community, be fiscally responsible with the footprint that we have. Any questions? All right, well, thank you so much for letting me talk. I hope to see you all at the show that you've got the tickets for. They email that information out, but if you have any questions, give me a call. And if you feel it in your heart to donate to the Opera House, of course, we welcome that at any time. But more importantly, we want to see you at the shows and involved in the theater. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so that's our Rotary afternoon. See you next week.
No, I think.